It was
Is he?
pretty much a mirror image of the Euro 2020 or
Hmm.
2021 final, where Luke Shaw scored early against Italy. Then Gareth Southgate sat back, eventually allowed Italy to crawl back into the game. Of course, PSG are a very different prospect in terms of their attacking line, and Arsenal, I felt, did a magnificent job.
Before that, I would like to talk about Victor Wembanyama's performance in the Western Conference Finals, because truly, we have always been asking who is going to be the face of the NBA after LeBron retires. It is very obvious it is him. He is he's he might be the best player on earth right now.
Howie Roseman is a top level executive. If he's trying to give
He's
a
a
player
genius, man.
away, I would be very careful about that, especially when you look at the Patriots and some of the off-field drama now with Mike Vrabel. You do worry about some of the leadership there. Drake May is a young quarterback. Welcome to the dugout with our usual gang, and we have three events to basically cover today, starting with the Champions League final between Arsenal and PSG. It was played in Budapest. PSG, of course, going back to back after beating Arsenal in penalties. Gentlemen, how are you guys?
Just glad that football and basketball were both saved on Saturday. Just very
Let's
glad.
come to that. So in a very interesting game, it was it wasn't full of drama, but yet it was packed with drama, if that makes sense. Arsenal took the lead, scored early. Kai Havertz, who has a knack for scoring in big games, and then PSG came back, equalized with a Dembele penalty. And although it doesn't look like there was a lot of action, the game was actually pretty tense the entire way until penalty shootout, of course, Eze and then Gabriel missing. What did you guys think of Arsenal's and Mikel Arteta's approach to this game? They had an XG of zero point zero 0.01 between the second half to the 120th minute, and seemed like really after scoring that initial goal on a sort of a fluke deflection, they just sat back. Mustafa, I'm sure you'll have thoughts, Izzy, or like some of your thoughts to counterbalance that. And then we'll come, of course, to PSG and the penalty shootout.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So like I kind of so the first thing is we all kind of agreed when we were like doing the Premier League review that we thought Havertz was going to do something in the Champions League final to a certain extent, because like he is a big game player and he does make Arsenal play better. Right? So, and it was a very well taken goal. It was against the run of play to a certain extent, but it was a very well taken goal. The goalkeeper could have done better, but like it's a final. You gotta get a shot on target and see what happens. It's as simple as that. I'm not gonna take away anything from that goal. I'm not gonna take anything away from Arsenal. I they were unbeaten for the entire season of the Champions League. They were a very good team, but like these tactics have been worrying to a lot of people for the entire season, even with them winning, because like even after they scored, I was thinking, okay, they're just gonna sit back now. They're gonna not even park the bus. As Jose said, they're gonna park the plane, and that's what they basically did. And like even I knew PSG are probably going to equalize, and even after they equalize, I don't think Arteta is going to try to go for the second. He is going to try to play till penalties, which is basically what he did. And like Arsenal will kind of feel hard done by in some cases where like they were going to be up and down about the Madueke penalty, if it was a penalty or not. I think it was a foul. I think it was a foul outside the box on Madueke, but like if when it got into the box, it was very obviously Madueke pulling him into himself. Uh, and I just like it's and I don't think PSG. I also honestly think PSG didn't play well either. I don't think they created enough chances as they should have. I how they like I was talking to some of my friends who are Arsenal fans, and even me, who we were all like Dembele wasn't great in that final. Kvaratskhelia was okay, but like a lot of their attackers were kind of invisible. Vitinha was fine. Like John Evers was fine. Like their like top, like their front six really wasn't spectacular at all, and they weren't really creating any chances. So, but like the thing is, if you're going to sit back and let the other team be the aggressor, you're going to let them take the momentum into penalties as well, which is what happened.
It was
Is he?
pretty much a mirror image of the Euro 2020 or
Hmm.
2021 final, where Luke Shaw scored early against Italy. Then Gareth Southgate sat back, eventually allowed Italy to crawl back into the game. Of course, PSG are a very different prospect in terms of their attacking line, and Arsenal, I felt, did a magnificent job for the most part to contain them. Gabriel had a fabulous game despite the penalty miss. I thought William Saliba was caught out of position a few times, especially on that counter from Barcola late in the second half. He made that error there, and Barcola, of course, hit the side netting. And what's his name? Hincapie played a fabulous game as well. Really kept the likes of Hakimi, Doué, and Quara. They were interchanging a lot. Dembele was interchanging with them a lot. He kept them on a leash, and overall, they did a fabulous job to contain PSG. But that's the point. How many times eventually are you going to keep getting hammered again and again and again? And eventually, Mosquera, he made that one mistake on Quara, and that was a stonewall pen had to be given, and that allowed PSG back into the game. Sometimes, you need to show a bit more daring. PSG have conceded 22 goals in this year's Champions League campaign. Arsenal have conceded only 5. So you always had that exoskeleton, that structure of a very solid defensive team. I thought they perhaps could have pushed a bit more. I thought Arteta could have been a bit more proactive, perhaps with his substitutions as well. But in the end, it's hindsight. You knew Arsenal were going to play this way. They were going to try and do a smash and grab. Unfortunately, it did not work out for them. Let's see if they can repeat, because they won't get such a friendly, or you don't expect them to get such a friendly run to the final, but you can only beat the teams in front of you. So let's see. They are well set, they are well geared, and of course, they'll fine tune their squad as well. And they will look to be a European powerhouse for the next 3 or 4 seasons.
I would just like to add one tiny little thing. So now, since data has been collected by for the last 25 years, I believe, Arsenal now own both of the least possessions in a Champions League final. In so this final and the Barcelona final in 2006. Now everyone's gonna look at that and say like, oh, football heritage and all that stuff. It's not that in 2006 they were attacking, but they got a red card, and that changed the entire game. And like you could say, I would say that Arsenal were actually very hard done by in 2006, but with their possession. But this was very much their own doing.
I think this iteration of the Arsenal squad, the way this was coming off their first win of a title after 20 years basically in the wilderness. They were always going to approach this game this way. Basically, play it tight, grab a goal, and then try and hold on. And Arteta mentioned in this press conference that the next evolution is basically to try and go get players who can now become your game changers. Because it was striking to me that Saka got hooked before full time, and then they really didn't have any game changers to come on. I thought their young player Lewis Kelly played excellently in midfield. Obviously, Vitinha and João Neves did a fantastic job in the midfield as well, and that bodes very well for Portugal's chances in the World Cup. But Arsenal needs um, to look to buy game changers in attack, players who can actually change the game. Because when you look at Gyökeres, although he's a very good striker, he's not what you would call a game changer. You know, PSG have those in plenty, and so does Bayern, so does Man City, so on and so forth. And the next iteration of Arsenal, as they build a squad, have to sort of look to do that. Coming to the penalties, Eze, I don't know what that ridiculous bunny hop and stutter step penalty is. I think you should just put the ball put your foot through the ball and just smash it. Gabriel was unlucky. I think he's had a fantastic season all year round, but in a way, he's the poster child for the way Arsenal play. He's the poster child for so much of some of the criticism that Arsenal get, and so maybe this is sort of the circle coming. Any last thoughts on that Champions League final, AZ?
Just that I feel like, we'll get there next year. We'll be back next year. We know we're seasoned veterans of supporting our teams that have not won over the years. So It's not easy to get back. It's very, very difficult. Manchester United will retool. Liverpool, well, they've just fired their manager. That's another story altogether. But Barca are tooling big time. They've just picked up Anthony Gordon. They're looking to pry away Julian Alvarez from Atletico Madrid. And Bernardo Silva is very likely to join them as a free agent as well. We've got Ibrahim Konate, who's being listed up to join Real Madrid. So everybody is,
Madrid. Yep.
boosting the
Rodri to
squad.
Madrid
It's
as
That's
well.
you
a
have to.
Rodri to
Rodri
Madrid
is being
it's
rumored
it's a great
to
point
Real as
you
well.
bring up.
Yeah,
It's a great point. It's very easy to say both these teams are going to be back in the final, but it's
it's
very hard to
very
do so.
tough.
PSG, of course, the first back-to-back winners since Madrid did it in a long time, and hats off to Nasser Khalifi and of course Luis Enrique, who basically retooled that team completely after they sold Kylian Mbappe. Let's move on to another championship game about to happen in the NBA. The San Antonio Spurs, of course, knocked off defending champions OKC in a game seven thriller, and will head home actually to take on the New York Knicks, who dispatched Cleveland Cavaliers pretty easily. Probably the two best teams at the end, taking off, playing against each other. Of course, the Knicks, led by Jalen Brunson and Kyle Anthony Towns, and of course, the Spurs with that superstar, Victor Wembanyama, who's an absolute sensational player. The Knicks, of course, haven't won since the 70s. We, of course, remember the team that lost to the Rockets, and then the team that, of course, also lost in the late 90s. But basically, they've been an NBA wilderness. Interestingly, that they fired Tom Thibodeau last year after probably underachieving, and then hired Mike Brown, who, of course, won an NBA championship with the Lakers, and he's basically brought this Knicks team into a little bit better um, offensive chemistry, I'd say. But the Spurs will be tough to beat. Where do you guys see this matchup taking place?
First and foremost, I would like to feel very bad. I would like to feel like I feel very sorry for Sacramento Kings fans because Tyrese Halliburton, De'Aaron Fox, Mike Brown, like like all their guys have gotten to the NBA Finals in the last 2 years. Uh, but first and
But
foremost,
that goes to show you about poor ownership and basically poor
Mm.
front office management
yeah. But before
more
I
than
get
anything else. You look at the Spurs. Yes, fine, they got lucky with first
And
round
the
picks
Knicks were the
and
poster boy
Tim
for
Dunn.
bad management for so many
yeah,
years.
Correct. Yeah, but look, Jalen Brunson came from the Mavs, so you're gonna give the Kyle Anthony Towns came from Minnesota. Give them the Knicks credit. Both these teams in the finals are
Amazing moves.
basically
they turned
built from scratch,
they turned their
and new coaches,
entire
both of them.
yeah, they turned their entire thing around in 5 years, which is very big because like of how destitute the Knicks were for like 20 years, aside from like brief high points in the Carmelo Anthony era. But before I do respect the Knicks. I do think they have a chance. But like before that, I would like to talk about Victor Wembanyama's performance in the Western Conference Finals because truly we have always been asking who is going to be the face of the NBA after LeBron retires. It is very obvious it is him. He is he's he might be the best player on earth right now at 22, which is obscene because I do think he's the best defensive player in the world very easily. But the thing is, offensively, he's still very raw. And he still averages like 27 and 11 for that series. Like he would, like he's still very raw. There's a lot of very easable improvements that he can do. Like it is very scary where he's going to be in a couple of years. I do think I do think the Knicks probably have like the best like countermeasure. I feel really bad for them for a certain extent because like they don't have Mitchell Robinson's out, and like the duo of Mitchell Robinson and Cat together a very uh would have been very good at somewhat counteracting Victor Wembanyama, and like Cat will play a very big part in this series because he will force Wemby to guard uh basically at the 3 point line, and like they will have, in my opinion, you have to tire him out, like, and that's one way to do it.
But the Spurs have depth. You
Yeah.
look at Keldon Johnson, you look at Castle, you look at Harper, so on and so forth. But Carl Anthony Towns has basically reinvented himself.
Mm,
AZ, let me ask you this because Mustafa brought up a good point about Wembanyama becoming the face of the NBA. I would say that the NBA is actually much healthier now. You have a lot more superstars ready to fill that void of LeBron, as opposed to when Jordan retired or when Kobe was sort of reaching at the tail end between SGA, between Wembanyama, between Giannis, between Cooper Flag, so on and so forth. I think there's a lot more depth of superstar talent in the NBA currently. Your thoughts on that, Easy?
Well, the biggest example is that every single year we've had a different champion. For
mm.
the last 7 to 8 years. Nobody has
8 years.
repeated. Fair enough, 8 years, in fact. So somebody has made it to the final, but it's somebody new, whether it's Jokic, whether it's Giannis. You make up the point about Victor Wembanyama. Remember what Giannis used to look like in 2017? Gangly, long arms, skinny. When he filled out now, he looks like a Marvel superhero. So you can imagine Victor Wembanyama going on that track as well. And you can see the hunger and the desire. I mean, you cannot fake that kind of winning mentality that he always stresses in every single interview whenever they get him on the mic. You would remember that game when he was in tears after they pulled out that 30-point comeback against the LA Clippers in the regular season. It means a lot to this guy. I mean, he had only been to the US for a month, but he speaks like a fluent North American kid. So he's prepared himself step by step every single day on his journey to become an NBA star, an NBA All-Star, NBA champion. So I think mentality-wise, the mind meld that they've got going on in San Antonio is so good. Plus, you've drafted really well with the likes of Castle, Vassell, Champagne's been really looking good as well.
I
De'Aaron
mean,
Fox was a good pickup as well. So
Harper.
their squad is way, it's at least 2 to 3 seasons ahead of schedule at the moment, playing the
Yeah.
finals right now.
Yeah. I would also like to say it is kind of easy, like not easy, but like I'm just saying they did have like three top five draft picks in a row, which which
That
which
happened.
does
Yeah,
That
the
happened with the
Spurs.
Celtics. That happened with your Celtics in the 80s as well.
that helped us
Spurs, of
that
course,
happened with us, right?
have the Spurs have gotten lucky with first round picks. I mean, Popovich
Mm.
was a pro at doing that. But the last thing on this, the Spurs do have home court advantage, and I think looking at these, I think that'll be the key thing. I
But
suspect this series
Doc,
will
you
go
know the
6 or
Knicks
7
fans, they
games.
travel big time.
Hmm.
They do travel big time, but the Knicks fans are so starved for basically attention, after Riley left that, it took away all their rings and all their glories to Miami with them, that the Knicks have sort of never really recovered. It's always been a nearly franchise. This is their chance,
What
but
is the
I
feeling
just
like
have
in
a feeling
Texas
that they will,
surrounding San Antonio?
the Spurs
Like,
in,
are the
in
Houston fans,
Texas
are
and
the Dallas fans?
basketball. No, basketball is a secondary sport compared to football. So
Of
yes, Mass
course.
Yeah.
fans are Mass fans, Rockets fans are Rockets fans, Spurs fans are Spurs fans. But that rivalry isn't the same. Knicks basketball
But
means a
is
lot
there any
more in the
goodwill towards the
Northeast, of
Spurs or
course.
not really?
Not
I
really. I mean,
I
at this
think I
point,
think
I
I
think
just
I think people want to see Wemby win because,
Yeah,
and we
that's
see
true.
this a lot in basketball. The individual becomes greater than the team. People
Of
wanted Jordan to
course.
win,
yeah.
people wanted Kobe to win, people wanted LeBron to win. The same thing with
Steph.
what's his name, with Steph Curry. It's sort of that. The Milwaukee Bucks didn't really have fans, but people wanted Giannis to win. It's sort of
Yeah.
like that in basketball. It should be a fantastic series. I hope it
Oh,
goes 6 or 7 games. I think it'll go 6 or 7 games.
We go to
Be
six for
interesting to
yeah,
sure.
see what
yeah.
happens.
I
Yeah.
also think another reason why a lot of people are rooting for the Spurs is because they stopped OKC as well, and like basically them playing this type of almost football, very floppy, flop heavy.
It's amazing how quickly they become reviled, the OKC Thunder.
Yeah,
I mean, they were a
yeah,
goodwill team. They built the team up through the draft and smart
Last year was
trades and this
all
and that.
goodwill,
yeah.
absolutely, with
It was all
SGA and
goodwill.
stuff like
Now
that. It went away.
they're reviled.
Yep.
No, because like the problem is like when you have a player like Lou Dort, and who gets away with basically anything on the basketball court.
Bro, we would all die for a Lou Dort on our squad.
No,
I
no,
would take him easily
I
any day.
had Marcus Smart. I understand. I had Marcus Smart. You have Marcus
It's
Smart right now. We all understand.
Well, speaking of reviled franchises, let's move on to the NFL and the Patriots, who basically were able to extract AJ Brown from the
They
Eagles
basically
for
gave
a
him away,
first
to be
round pick.
honest.
Yeah, I mean, so that was one of two blockbuster trades in the NFL. We'll come to the
Mm,
second one. So Drake May has his number one receiver.
finally,
To me, and I was talking to Mustafa about this. Howie Roseman is a top level executive. If he's trying to give
he's
a
a
player
genius,
away,
man.
I would be very careful about that, especially when you look at the Patriots and some of the off-field drama now with Mike Vrabel. You do worry about some of the leadership there. Drake May is a young quarterback. You know, teams historically that reach a Super Bowl and lose in a Super Bowl don't always come back right away.
Mm,
And they do play a tougher schedule this year. It'll be interesting to see what happens. I think getting a first round pick is appropriate compensation, but it'll be interesting to see how AJ Brown fits
And
into the
and the
Pats
reporting
offense.
is that he was demanding a trade since September last
yeah,
year. That
since
is 2 months
week
out from
four.
winning the Super
Since
Bowl.
week four.
So
Week
there's
four when they
always
were.
this drama in the Eagles locker room. There's never any harmony. There seems to be
Yeah,
that,
yeah,
and at least that's what the reporting is all the
yeah.
time. I think
Big.
they don't really believe in Jalen Hurts, but they're locked in because
Yeah.
he won and he took them to Super
Yeah,
Bowls.
yeah, because even before, like the season where they were in between Super Bowls, they had that supernatural funk, right? Where like they were complete that entire locker room felt horrible, right? But like coming into AJ Brown finally coming, my team finally having a number one receiver since Randy Moss. And like we this is probably the first like Randy Moss was probably the
Not
last time.
not Antonio Brown.
Like this is probably the last time we had a top what like five to like we would say AJ Brown is a top five receiver. I would say, right?
Well, you've got Jetta, you've got a CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah,
Who else have you got? You've got a lot of guys. It's
yeah.
it's
So
not
I would
easy.
say okay, but like basically five
He's
to ten.
top 10, you would say.
Yeah, so
Top 10,
top.
sure.
So this is the first time we've had a top 10 receiver in like 12 years.
Yeah,
So that
yeah, that's
so
true.
right. So that's a very big deal for us. And aside from that, yes, I do think to a certain extent giving up a first round pick might be a bit too much at times. Uh, but at the same time,
No, but
you
if you get a receiver in his prime, it's okay. We did that with what's his name? Who was that guy we drafted for a number one round pick as well? I'm just trying to remember his name. Just escaping me at the moment. He
Joe
went on to
Amijo.
the Bengals after us. It was long back ago in the Zeke era. What was his name? I think Doc will know it. I just can't remember his name
No,
right now.
it's not Ocho Cinco. No, 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 it's not Ocho Cinco.
No, 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 no. He went to the to the Browns after us. I'm trying to remember now, but I'll recall it eventually.
Yeah,
But the thing is, for these kind of talents, you need to go for it.
yeah.
And already the Phillies had done their preparation when they picked up Makai Lemon in the draft when he was going to the Steelers.
Yeah, so like
So it made sense.
we all kind of knew this is was going to happen because the like the way the Eagles drafted, like you kind of
Mm,
knew this was going to happen, and this has just been up in the air since basically last like the since like basically mid-season last year that most
mm.
people knew that he was eventually going to be on the Patriots. He's a giant Patriots fan as well. He has that very iconic
Aren't those
video.
those childhood pictures, aren't they AI or are they real? They
He
look like AI.
he has a Patriots rug in his room, and then he also has like he was like the obvious signed Edelman jersey basically as well. But
See how he does. Of course, the second blockbuster trade was between the Rams and the Cleveland Browns, where the Rams basically
Oh
doing
my
their
God.
usual thing of going all in. They traded for McDuffie from Kansas City as a cornerback and now giving up a first round pick next year, a second round pick the year after, a third round pick to get Myles Garrett from the Cleveland Browns. Arguably, since the Browns moved back to Cleveland, the best player in Browns organization. The Rams, of course, have now both the offensive and defensive players of the year on their team. Matt Stafford, obviously, as their quarterback.
MVP Matt
Interestingly,
Stafford. MVP
MVP,
bets.
so offensive and league MVP and then defensive MVP, and basically going on all in the way they did the last time the Super Bowl was held at SoFi Stadium and the Rams won. Your thoughts on the Rams doing this? And to me, the Rams are actually the best team this year. They basically just got lucky,
100%.
Yeah.
got unlucky going against the Seahawks in that playoff game, and we all knew at that point that whoever won that game was going to beat whoever came out of the AFC. But the Rams have basically, if they stay healthy, this is basically the team to beat.
Yeah. I don't.
Absolutely. They've rocketed up the power rankings now big time. They're right up there. And honestly, if it's Seahawks versus Rams right now, I'd pick the Rams any day. The only problem is that controversy surrounding Puka Nakua. If that sorts itself out, will that have a bit of a gray cloud over the Rams? But that's part and parcel of
It's
the NFL. Pretty much
it's the
day in and
NFL,
day
man.
out.
That's how it's the
We've
NFL.
had a lot worse.
Like
So
we
I
have,
think
we
that
still
they
have
are right up there.
Rashid Rice is still technically playing. Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
so
Tyreek
they
Hill is still technically playing.
and OBJ is back, man. OBJ is
Yeah,
back for the
OBJ
Giants,
is
man.
back, man. He's back with the Giants. Yeah.
But you talk about organizational, basically unity, and this only happens because of Les Snead and basically Sean McVay
He is
being
amazing.
basically
He is
Yeah.
amazing.
lockstep and basically saying that we're happy to give up first round picks next year and then second and third round picks the years after to go for it all, knowing that we'll eventually suck in future years because you'll lose your Hall of Fame quarterback and then you'll basically be forced to basically have the growing pains of Ty Simpson without being able to basically surround him with talent. They're okay with that, but they're okay with that because both the GM and the head coach are solid in their understanding of what the job description is.
It's just
That
a
really ties in nicely with OKC and the Giannis rumors going on. Are they willing to get rid of Chet and whoever, Lou Dort and maybe Jay
yeah.
Will, and combine, SGA with Giannis and, bring that window forward, make it short term, 2, 3 years right here, right now. Forget about our draft picks, forget about everything. That's the decision that Sam Presti needs to make. And that's the
Yeah.
beauty of, North American sports because everything is win now. And whichever GM, whichever coach doesn't believe in that mentality, you get fired in a couple of seasons.
Yeah, this is what I do have a problem with football sometimes, where it's always trust the process. It's a rebuild. It's like we're planning to win the league in 5 years, in 7 years, and stuff like that, right? Especially for a team like Man United, which has been planning to win the league the next 3 seasons for the last decade. Basically, we're three. We've been saying we're 3 seasons away for every year for the last decade, essentially, mostly, right?
When you don't have organizational synergy, that's what happens.
Yeah,
Mm,
yeah,
very true.
You need organizational synergy from ownership on down.
yeah. And
Speaking of, are we all in on Carrick? Is it locked in, or is it still some?
we are like we
No,
were
no,
talking.
he's been announced. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
Support the manager
No,
until
as
the
a fan
results
base,
start.
are we locked in or are we not?
No, I do like all I'll say is against that like he performed well against City and Arsenal, and that Arsenal defense is very good, right? And
Yeah, but you always used to do well in the bigger games, anyways,
yeah,
even in
but
the worst time.
but we were also doing well in the smaller games as well this time as well, which was the biggest difference, right?
Mm.
Like we weren't we like we only lost 2 games of our last like 17.
How a manager does as a permanent is very different from how a manager does it as an interim. And next year
Yeah,
he won't have one game a week, basically.
yeah, and
He'll have to
he'll
play
also
multiple games a week, multiple competition, bigger squad. It's a
But it
different
does look like they're
challenge.
gonna, open the war chest for him, so it's going to be interesting.
yeah.
We'll see.
I mean
Yep.
this is we need like it's just very annoying to me because like every single time we get top 4, we have like one of our like we do everything wrong in the summer. Like we do everything wrong in the summer, and this is a consistent matter of fact. We either don't spend enough or we spend it on like horrible players. Like in 23 when we got top 4, we got Hoyland, we got sorry no,
Oh, no.
we got Xerxes, Ugarte, Amrabat was that season as well. Yes. or something like that.
Amrabat was the previous year
Yeah,
under Ten Hag.
previous year. And but like basically
It
like
was Mazraoui and Delict.
yeah, Moussaoui did it. And like it's just like we've not been able to put the only time we have been able to put on 2 consecutive top 4 seasons was very ironically Ollie. like that this is like a genuine fact. Like
Well, at least you're not Liverpool at the moment, who have absolutely no direction whatsoever.
they got no. I do think they. I was very annoyed when they sacked Slot. I was very
I
hopeful.
think Liverpool
It
made the
made
right
no
decision
sense.
for them.
No, I think they made the right choice. I completely agree.
They made the right choice. I think that they had realized that that story was done. And sometimes it's just time to move on, and you have to move on from the fact that he won you a title. And you just realize that there's no coming back. I think too much water under the bridge.
Yeah, I just it is what it is now. So I just think we saw a very okay final in the UCL. I am looking really forward to the NBA finals now. I think it's going to be a very good finals. I think it's going to be it is in the mecca of the world, as they say. So it is like you couldn't write a better script than Wemby having his first finals in New York, in Madison.
How is it the Mecca of the world when there is an actual Mecca in the world? What is he saying?
Mecca
You can say the
basketball.
Mecca of
All
basketball,
right,
fair
gents.
enough. Yeah,
Thank you. We'll do it again soon.
Okay.
absolutely.